Some of the new allegations in this lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs, you might still know him as Puff Daddy, but he goes by Diddy, made by one of his producers. They're absolutely wild and hard to stomach, and also potentially triggering, by the way. So if you have, tragically in your own life experienced something like this, or you find it to be triggering, then just viewer discretion on this topic. But we're gonna break down the allegations in this lawsuit, which is, by the way, the 6th action against Combs. This one is different than the others in that it is a man making the allegations. The previous lawsuits were made by women. This one was brought by Rodney Jones, one of his producers on the 2023 Grammy-nominated The Love Album, Off the Grid. And so Rodney Jones helped to produce this album, and during that, apparently had a lot of horrible experiences. At least that's what's being alleged. Between September of 2022 and November of last year, Jones was allegedly subjected to constant sexual harassment by Combs, who would walk around naked in front of Jones and touch his anus and genitals. When Jones, who describes himself as a heterosexual Christian man, complained to Combs' chief of staff, she allegedly responded, Sean will be Sean, which, if that is true, dear God, that bears not only on this case, but on potentially all of the others. That said, just an allegation at this point. Jones also claims that he was dispatched by Combs to, quote, recruit sex workers and bring them back to the rappers' homes, and that Combs would use his power and influence, quote, to intimidate and force Mr. Jones into soliciting and sleeping with these women. In one alleged instance, Jones recalls waking up naked, dizzy, and confused next to 2 sex workers and Combs, who he believes had drugged him at that point. And to try to maintain silence and compliance, the allegation is that Combs used the promises of Grammys, money, and access to the executives of music labels to keep him working for him. The mogul also used threats, though. So you had, I guess, the honey, and you also had the vinegar. He would threaten him, including physically, by the way. And this is just insane, but again, allegation. Mr. Combs apparently threatened to eat Mr. Jones's face and informed Mr. Jones that he's willing to kill his mother, Janice Combs, if he must in order to get what he wants. So he wouldn't think twice to harm Mr. Jones. So he says he would eat the man's face and he'd be willing to kill his own mother. So imagine what I would do to you. I don't know if that counts as just Sean being Sean, or if this is even outside of the bounds of that. But difficult to swallow allegations. Now, Jones says he has hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings. So that's both of Combs as well as his staff and guests. So he says he's launching into this lawsuit with a lot of evidence of apparently what was done. But other claims made include an incident where Diddy allegedly forced him to watch a man identified as Stevie J have sex with another man. Screenshots of the video were apparently already submitted as part of the lawsuit being filed. And these screenshots have been claimed to be an adult film star Knockout by Knockout himself. So a lot of this is going to need to be adjudicated once we actually get to the courtroom, assuming that we get there. Bear in mind that, as always, when it has to do with a celebrity, a person who is wealthy, these lawsuits don't always make it to an actual trial. They could simply disappear for a variety of different reasons, legal reasons, or theoretically there could be some sort of settlement that is reached. I don't know. I do have a statement from the legal team representing Combs saying Lil Rod is nothing more than a liar, shamelessly looking for an undeserved payday. His reckless name dropping about events that are pure fiction and simply did not happen is nothing more than a transparent attempt to garner headlines. She added that Combs' team had, quote, overwhelming, indisputable proof that would flatten Jones's claims. We will address these outlandish allegations in court and take all appropriate action against those who make them. Okay, so obviously someone is in the wrong here, because if he has literally hundreds of hours of video and audio demonstrating even a small portion of what he is alleging in this case, it is going to be absolutely damning for Combs in this case. So when the legal team for Combs says that they have overwhelming, indisputable proof, I don't even know in this case what that would be. I don't know how you prove that none of this happened, particularly if the guy has video evidence of it. Maybe they have statements that were made by the individual. Maybe they have something that they think can imply that any of this was consensual. We're gonna have to wait until the actual lawsuit, the actual trial, if we get to one for that. In the meantime, he is trying to raise some money for this legal effort. And so you can see a picture of the GoFundMe right there. As of at least when we took the screenshot, it had not raised much money yet. And so look, again, this is just allegations. But if we were to hypothesize that the allegations were true, it's just weird, not impossible to understand, but weird that we live in a country where, like, let's say that he experienced all these horrific things. He is having so much trouble getting just a little bit of money to pursue justice if the allegations are true. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has already gotten well over $1 million donated to his legal effort when he's literally a billionaire and doesn't need the money. Whereas the victim in this case, or the alleged victim, apparently was only paid $29,000 for literally thousands of hours of work on a Grammy-nominated album. So it's a weird country we live in with very different outcomes in terms of the justice system, depending on who you are. Again, as I've said 1,000 times, allegations, and we will see what happens if and when this ever gets to trial. Not only in this particular set of allegations, but in the now half dozen cases that are facing Combs.